All right, today is Sunday, August 11th, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard. Let's take a look at what we are anticipating for the week ahead. We're going to talk about positions that we see set up, trades of positional interest, so commitment of traders data, where are speculators heavily stacked, and what direction do we want to go against the grain, and positions of tradable interest. So where do I see the fundamentals and the technicals on the charts that we watch potentially having a setup for good trade opportunities. So first thing, I want to walk through a couple fundamentals, what we're looking at for the week this week. So key things we're seeing in the US markets, and I'm not going to highlight every single thing here that we're looking at across multiple different geographies like the UK and Japan. Some of those we'll talk about intra-week, depending on how we're set up in specific positions. So we have like a yen trade on, for instance, in the short of the pound. So there's a couple of economic news items that are worth watching, but won't highlight that on this video today. So Tuesday, we're looking at PPI, so that is likely to have some moves on the market. We're looking at CPI on Wednesday, which is definitely going to have some implications on the direction of the market. Thursday, we are looking at jobless claims and retail sales. And Friday, not so much here on Friday. So, really, I would say Tuesday and Wednesday are going to be the key days for the US market as far as what things are going to be moving the market. So, PPI and CPI. And then from an agricultural perspective, we're looking at the world agricultural supply and demand estimates. This report is coming out 12 o'clock on Monday here, so tomorrow. That will help us in terms of the direction on oats, which is a position we're looking at, and cotton, which is another position that's also set up. So we'll look for potentially some bad supply demand estimates and looking for potential reversal where cotton or oats can close up, and I will talk about those trades in 1 second here. But reason being is these trades are very crowded on the short side. We're looking to go long on both cotton and oats. They're also looking like they're potentially near a chart breakout. So I like these positions from a tradable standpoint and from a positional standpoint. And if this economic news can give us an indication that things may be even worse for cotton and oats and they close up anyways, I would indicate that as a news failure, and we're going to want to get in on those long positions. So without further ado, let's take a look at the charts and what we are looking at. For those of you listening, I have a Discord channel where I will be posting every week on trade setups. Every day I'll be posting if there's any trade alerts, so if I've entered or exited positions, and we'll be keeping track of the charts, the setups every week, what we're seeing, what we're not seeing, what we're looking at for the week. So all that will be posted in there, as well as profits, and really keeping everything honest in one central location. So positions of positional interest. So based on commitment to trader data, we are looking at oats to go long. And I'm going to pull up the chart here on oats. So two things, like I said, there is this potential breakout we could see. If we can break out of this channel here, I would really like to get an entry. I mean, this thing dates all the way back to 2022 on this specific entry. So that would actually take us a little while longer to break out for. I'm going to adjust this down just a little bit, probably something like that. Yeah, I mean, if we can get a breakout above that channel, that would definitely be of interest, but we need a little bit more of a time frame here, I think, to break out of the top part of the channel. And then this channel only dates back until May, so not as strong of a breakout if we break above this first channel. But I would like to see oats at least start to break this first channel, and then if we break out of this top channel here at like a 330 price or more, I think we're going to have to go long oats, assuming there is a news failure that also coincides with the chart breakout. So that's what we're looking at on oats. Russell, we are looking at a short. So I talked about in the Discord community on Saturday and earlier today how I was looking at the NASDAQ. I think the NASDAQ is really well set up here, running into tons of resistance lines as we get past the 618 Fibonacci and into the 50% retrace. And all of this is looking really good for a short setup. And I also like how positioning is looking from commitment to traders, but I want to bring attention to the Russell here. And if we look at the commitment to traders, if we index the commitment to traders based on the past 6 months of data, the Russell is actually set up for a short. So commercials are highly shorting this thing at maximum position, and speculators are max long. So we're looking at very similar charts here, to be completely honest. If we even compare the NASDAQ, which I haven't done yet, so we'll just kind of do this in real time. If we compare the NASDAQ and the Russell, I mean, they're not extremely correlated because the Russell lagged for a good part of the year, but they're both in these retracement periods right now. I don't think this chart's gonna. Yeah, I mean these track pretty well together, even though the Russell did lag for a while and then it finally caught up, and now they're kind of both sitting in the same kind of Fibonacci retraces. So I do like this from a setup standpoint. I think these markets are going to move together regardless, the S&P, the Nasdaq, and the Russell. And it's just a matter of, if we're going to go short here, which one is going to make the most sense, because the charts are looking very similar for all three. I mean, look at the S&P here and the Nasdaq. These are almost identical if you just look at this past little portion here. I mean, these are identical looking charts. And then the Russell had this pop, and then it's kind of into the same trajectory. So when we look at the positions, the positioning with commitment to traders, the Russell is substantially of more interest than the Nasdaq or the S&P. So we're going to short the Russell at the open here, and we are looking for a move down back to the swing lows. It's a little bit of a risky position. It hedges our other positions here where we're long Canadian dollar. Those are more risky positions. So if I think those are going to work inversely, right? So if the market is going down and the Russell trade's working, that Canadian dollar might also be going down. There's a little bit of a good balance, I would say, in terms of our positioning, where we're kind of getting a hedge here, but we're also trading because this trade looks well set up for a short. So that's the Russell. And the cotton long, we are looking at, again, that agricultural report that'll come out at noon. We're going to hope that cotton can close higher on bad news, and that would be a news failure and also a breakout of this key channel, which this one is a lot stronger than oats from what I can see. This one dates back to March, so it's still of interest. Let's see if we can even drag this out further. Yeah, not so much. So yeah, we're looking at breaking out of that top channel. If we can break out of this, I do think that there's some good upside here. Cotton's been so heavily shorted that if we can break this top channel and start to get closes above 70 again, I do think there's some really good room to run up here and even potentially a short squeeze. So I like cotton from a technical perspective. I like it even more from a fundamental, depending on that agricultural data at noon tomorrow. And I like it even more based on the commitment of traders and how things are set up, where speculators have been really shorting this thing, and it's finally looking like it's starting to bottom. We had this little bottom wick here on the 4 hour the other day, and it looks like it's starting to roll and round up to start reversing. So we'll see there. I'm not going to walk through all the B setups, but I also posted these in the Discord for anybody interested. I'll put the link in the description. Cattle, we're looking at a potential long setup. We're close to being set up. We're going to hold off on that. Sugar, if it goes back below $18, that's when we'll start to look at the chart. Wheat, we're going to hold off and trade oats because those track very similarly. Gold, I'm watching for new all-time highs here. I just am going to sit on the sidelines and see how gold plays out. New Zealand dollar, I have as a B setup that I've adjusted it to. I think New Zealand dollar tracks very similarly with Canadian dollar as of right now. So I'm kind of just, if I pull this chart out, these are pretty similar charts. Try to track a similar time frame. I mean, these move from what I looked at in very similar directions. So we're just going to stay long Canadian. We're going to try to get a full size position here at the open tonight into tomorrow for Canadian dollar. So staying out of New Zealand for now. Although I like the setup on that one as well. But Canadian is a lot more heavily shorted and the commercials are long. So I like Canadian dollar more than New Zealand dollar. Platinum, we're looking at if it can break below $900. We're currently sitting at 930. I'd like to see a bit more of a breakdown. I was also looking at this head and shoulders that I identified here. We've got a couple, this major head, shoulder, and shoulder, but I think I was looking at one on the 4 hour. Yeah, so we have this head, this left shoulder, this right shoulder. That should get us below $900, down to about 880 is what I calculated. So looking at platinum really around like 880, high 800s. And then positions of tradable interest, so a little bit shorter just in terms of speculate, or the positioning might not be there with commitment of traders, but we may see some interesting patterns and some interesting fundamentals to support the direction. So the US dollar, I like going short here. I've got a trade set up that if it executes, we need a little bit further of a move up. We're going to go short US dollar. I identified a head and shoulders and some key resistance here that I've also put in the Discord. So we're going to go short on US dollar. I think as we move into rate cuts, US dollar is likely to fall a little bit more. So I like how this is looking. I like how this is set up, and this is looking like a good short opportunity. And then palladium is another potential opportunity. So palladium is currently rotating back down, hitting again some actually real major chart resistance here that it got rejected off of. That goes all the way back here to man, I don't even middle of 2023. April 2023. So we're kind of hitting off this top line resistance here and getting rejected. I see this thing heading lower and potentially testing these lows again. So if we can get in the swing lows here somewhere below 850, somewhere between 800 and 850, we're going to look to rotate long again here and kind of retest this channel. I think ideally, if we can come back down here, retest this channel, and then bounce off for a short period position to go long. That's what we're looking at there. So, and B setups for tradable interest, I would say, is Bitcoin as well. We missed this entry here last week by just a couple 100 points. I think we were at 54,000 and it went as low as 55. So I adjusted this up a little bit. I think we're going to stay in this channel for some time. So still very bullish Bitcoin, just based on how everything's looking from a technical and fundamental standpoint. We did have a bear trap here and then reverse immediately off of that. That was a day where there was a lot of liquidation in the market and that yen carry trade and everything playing out. So we're looking to just get back in this thing and go long, assuming that this is going to be the floor around 49,000. So I'd like to get a small position in here for trading if we can get a little bit of a retest back down, which I suspect Bitcoin is going to come off a little bit, especially if the market, if that Russell trade plays out and if the general market starts to sell off here a little bit further, which I do suspect is going to happen the next couple of weeks until we get to rate cuts. So that's what we're looking at. Appreciate you listening. Feel free to comment. And yeah, we'll look forward to talking about how these play out during the week. Thanks.